On News Hour tonight, court sentences gospel singer to death for killing Salome Adaidu. Poor rainfall threatens Maiduguri's farming season. President Tinubu signs 4 tax bills into law. New tax regime begins January 2026. And on the foreign scene, 29 students killed, over 250 injured in explosion stampede at high school in Central African Republic. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Hawa Adam Kiawa. The High Court in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, has sentenced 32-year-old Timileyin Ajayi to death by hanging for the gruesome murder of a 24-year-old corps member, Salome Adaidu. This follows the expedited trial in which Timileyin was found guilty of culpable homicide. The report.
It was a tense atmosphere at the Nasarawa State High Court in Lafia as Justice Simon Ibuki delivered the long-awaited judgment in the murder trial of Timileyin Ajayi. The court found Ajayi guilty of killing and dismembering Salome Adaidu, a 24-year-old National Youth Service Corps member who had visited him at his residence. During the trial, the prosecution led by Raymond Omaru presented compelling evidence, including video recordings, 6 polythene bags containing body parts, a severed head, cutlasses, knives, and the deceased's handbag with personal items. All were admitted as exhibits from the first day of hearing. Justice Ibuki ruled that the prosecution successfully proved the case beyond reasonable doubt and sentenced Ajayi to death by hanging. He has 90 days to appeal the judgment. If no appeal is filed, the Ministry of Justice will forward the case to the state governor for assent.
We are able to provide circumstantial evidence which actually goes to show what transpired. So the court looked at that and also considered his confessional statement to the police, which is even the legal evidence that we are required to tender. So, and then those are the basis upon which the court made this pronouncement. First, there are sufficient circumstantial evidence that led to the conclusion that he actually killed Mrs. Salome, and also his confessional statement to the police, which was tendered without objection.
On his part, Defense Counsel Umaru Yunusa of the Legal Aid Council of Nigeria acknowledged the judgment, stating that the legal process was duly followed.
The law has taken its course because of the peculiar nature of this case and the accelerated hearing it was given by the judiciary. We have no option. We are lawyers. We only assisted the defendant in presenting his case. The duty to decide the case either way is the exclusive prerogative of the court, and that is what my Lord has done, analyzing critically the evidence of both parties. For
the family of the late Salome Adaidu, Thursday's judgment offers a soothing end to a traumatic journey.
But this journey, I was trying to make sure that we get to this point of judgment so that the remaining youth, their life will be safe. Because if we allow this kind of person to continue in the society, it will continue to cause more harm to more living souls. And that is why I am happy that he was sentenced to death by hanging.
With the final judgment now delivered, the case marks a significant moment in the state's criminal justice history, sending a strong message against violence and impunity.
On a sad note, the Nigerian Army has declared a 3-day mourning period for soldiers who were recently killed by terrorists in Niger State. Trust TV reports that bandits launched attacks on Kwanarduz Meriga and Boka in Niger State, killing 17 soldiers and leaving 10 others seriously injured. According to the Nigerian Army headquarters, scores of the terrorists were also neutralized during the encounter. In response to the tragic incident, the Army, in a statement on Thursday, announced a 3-day mourning period from June 25th to 27th in honor of the fallen heroes. In another update, the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa has reaffirmed the commitment of the Nigerian Armed Forces to work closely with traditional rulers in order to restore lasting peace in Benue State and surrounding regions. Trust TV's correspondent in Benue State reports that General Musa emphasized that the military cannot achieve sustainable peace without the cooperation and support of local leaders and communities, hence his meeting with some traditional leaders. The report.
After a closed-door meeting with the Toti, James Ayati, Doichi Doma, John Odogbo, and other traditional rulers, General Musa said this was his second engagement with the royal fathers in recent times. He explained that the meeting has created a genuine platform for collaboration, allowing all stakeholders to approach the issue of insecurity with sincerity and unity of purpose.
Now, the challenges are those bearing arms. I want to use this medium to also warn my own personnel. I've had reasons, people mentioning that they said they were not told to attack criminals. I said no. Once a military man is deployed in any location, he is duty bound to protect himself, protect his colleague, and protect the communities he's there. He doesn't need any other issue. Anybody that is seen to be carrying arms illegally should be arrested. And if he proves wants to take his shot, he should be shot. That is the mandate.
According to him, President Tinubu remains resolute in his mission to restore peace in Benue State and across Nigeria. The Chief of Defense Staff also disclosed that additional troops have been deployed to affected communities, particularly Yellow-Water, to ensure the safe return of displaced persons to their ancestral homes.
What we have discussed here, we'll go back and meet Mr. President and convey same to him, and he will give that, because some of the solutions cannot be provided by the members of the military. It must be political and it must come from the top. Every role has a role to do, both the local government, the state, and the federal, and I think they will do their own.
In a remark, the Toti, Professor James Ayati, stated that security agencies are gaining control over criminal elements in the region and warned that anyone involved in crime within his domain, regardless of status, will face the full wrath of the law.
Any criminal activity comes directly under the control and exercise of authority of security agencies. So anybody in our domain that is involved in criminal activities, the security agencies should deal with that person.
For his part, Dochi Doma, Dr. John Eligo, reiterated the firm stance of traditional institution in Benue State against violent militia and appealed to armed herdsmen to vacate Benue lands to enable farmers return to their fields and reclaim the state's identity as the food basket of the nation.
If there is no food, can you survive? And we are the food basket of the nation. They have turned it to us to another thing entirely, and that is why we are telling them, go. If you want to come to our land, do the proper thing, but we will profile you, identify where you are coming from, and how long are you going to stay here. And that is what we are talking about, and we stand by what we said.
As consultations with stakeholders and security agencies continue, the people of Benue State remain hopeful that peace will soon return to their land.
On a similar matter, the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in Nasarawa and Benue states have tasked their members to expedite action to settle all ongoing skirmishes with farmers in both states in line with President Bola Tinubu's efforts to restore normalcy in the area. The national president of Makban, Baba Othman Ngelzarma, gave the task on Thursday in Lafia local government area of Nasarawa State during a peace-building meeting with stakeholders and members of the association from both states. The meeting was specifically convened to appeal to Makban members to share their thoughts with open minds, bearing in mind that two wrongs do not make a right. The state chairman of Makban in Nasarawa and Benue states, representatives of the various security agencies in both states, Fulani leaders, youth groups from rural communities, among others, attended the peace dialogue.
We request government to be just and fair in their investigations and doing. Let there be accountability for offenses committed. We finally call on the press at the first extent of the realm to be ethical in their presentations of all facts, and to also remind them that they have a very important role to play in ensuring peace and economic development in this country.
Farmers in Maiduguri have decried the poor rainfall experience in the capital city of Borno State in the first months of this year's farming season. Consequently, they are apprehensive that the shortage of rain could lead to low poor harvests later in the year. Trust TV's Bitrus Kursi completes the story.
It rained 2 days ago in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Experienced some rainfall on Tuesday, 24th June, but it was only light showers. The city has been experiencing such rainfall scarcity since May. Today, Ishaku Daniel is clearing his farmland with the hope of a heavy downpour before he begins planting. Ishaku fears that if it doesn't happen, it could cause hardship for farmers.
Yanzu ina shirin shuki na amma tukuna sai an yi ruwa tukuna. Bari Allah ya kawo ruwa sai mu zo mu shuki.
I have a feeling that the rains might be heavier this year compared to last year because the rainy season started late. That delay might affect our yield. Some farmers remember a similar occurrence in 2023 when it didn't rain for months. They are optimistic that with some months left, things could change.
Gaskiya ruwan sama gaskiya a yanda muke duba damuna muke tsammani damuna don fi sabilillah ya ja.
We are really worried about the late onset of rain. We have seen this happen in the past, and it led to hunger. I urge fellow farmers and residents to pray for steady rainfall so we can have a good harvest. Many farmers have already invested a lot this season. This is not the first time we are experiencing unpredictable weather. In past years, floods destroyed farmlands, and now we are dealing with rainfall shortage. We just hope it doesn't continue like this, because it will seriously affect us. While Ishaku and other farmers continue to prepare their farmlands for the season, they are hopeful that Mother Nature will answer their prayers of rainfall. Bitrus Kursi, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
Small business operators and residents in the northeast region of the country have expressed mixed reactions to the restoration of electricity supply in the region. This follows the announcement by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, that electricity supply to the 6 states in northeast region has been restored after a prolonged blackout. Trust TV's Adam Imam reports. We apologize for the report. It will be coming shortly. Next up, a diesel tanker on Thursday overturned at Nkpolu Junction along the east-west road in Port Harcourt, River State, causing a scramble by residents to scoop its content despite safety risks. The incident occurred in the early hours of the day after the tanker reportedly lost control due to a burst tire and crashed into a roadside gutter. Eyewitnesses said the incident led to a rush by residents attempting to collect the leak in diesel, even as security personnel tried to disperse the crowd. Officials from the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, have since cordoned off the area while arrangements are made to transfer the remaining fuel to another tanker. At the time of filing the report, no casualties had been reported, but authorities are urging the public to avoid the scene due to the risk of a fire or further accidents.
But you don't scoop since. See your leg now, you don't scoop since. What is the setup na petrol?
When the tanker first fall, I will get a fire quencher before fire start.
After na quencher, what you go happen next?
Just I know where we money. Because I don't want to about some of the trouble. Nigeria is spoiled this time around. Why people are around this thing? I think all Nigeria is spoiled. When I don't press, I mean, yeah. When I need them today, it's about Christmas.
In another story, the Federal Capital Territory chapter of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, says it is mobilizing to shut down the territory after President Bola Tinubu concludes his project's inauguration on July 3rd. The chairman, Stephen Gnabai, who disclosed this in Abuja on Thursday, explained that the move was to draw the attention of the FCT administration to address the area council workers' lingering strike. Now, the primary school teachers and other area council workers had embarked on a series of strikes over non-payment of minimum wage and 40% peculiar allowance. Other unresolved issues included the non-implementation of 25% and 35% salary increases and the 35,000 naira wage award, among other benefits. The NLC chairman, who described the development as very unfortunate, said the area council chairman left the union with no option but to shut down the FCT. He recalled that the union had on June 13th issued a 7-day ultimatum to the FCT administration to address the demands of the teachers, health workers and other area council workers. President Bola Tinubu has signed 4 tax reform bills into law, signaling what he described as a bold new era of economic governance in the country. The short ceremony, which took place at the presidential villa on Thursday, was attended by the leadership of the National Assembly and some legislators, governors, ministers and aides of the president. Let's take a look.
The 4 bills, the Nigerian Tax Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill were passed by the National Assembly after extensive consultation with various interest groups and stakeholders. Tinubu explained that the reform will go beyond streamlining tax code, as the reform are meant to deliver the first major pro-people tax court in a generation.
At the end of the day, what you must land with is the hope to develop the people and show the right character towards the destination. We are in transit. We have changed the road. We have changed some of the misgivings. We have opened the door for new economy.
Addressing reporters, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, said the new tax regime will begin on January 1st, 2026.
Through the assent of Mr. President, we are now Nigeria Revenue Service, which is expanded scope to also focus on non-tax collection, increase efficiency, and actually match as a source, as the implementer of all other major tax that we have.
They broaden the tax base and in a fair and equitable manner, as well as promoting voluntary compliance by taxpayers. As we know, for decades, the tax architecture has been constrained. We've had a low revenue return from tax, just above 10% of GDP. And as well, what I was calling a sub-optimal tax administration system.
Many did not know that by the time you took office in 2023, Nigeria was on life support. We're using about 98% of the daily revenue of this country for debt servicing, and almost 90% was on oil subsidy. And so Nigeria was heading to the brink of collapse. When you came and you said that God brought you for a time like this, and you are prepared to ensure that Nigeria was saved.
The new tax bill introduced by the Tinubu administration had been enveloped in widespread controversy and sparked scathing criticism and stiff opposition from many, including some governors who believe that some states won't be able to pay staff salaries if some section of the bill make it into law. However, the presidency and the National Assembly said stakeholders had been engaged across the country and the fears of the governors had been allayed.
Small businesses Business operators and residents in the northeast region of the country have expressed mixed reactions to the restoration of electricity supply in the region. This follows the announcement by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, that electricity supply to the 6 states in northeast region has been restored after prolonged blackout. Trust TV's Adam Imam has more.
Power was restored to the region following the successful connection of the new Bauchi 330 by 132 kV transmission substation to the national grid through the Jos-Bauchi-Gombe transmission line. However, the TCN warns that vandalism remains a major threat to the stability of electricity supply across the country. In the northeast, small business owners have expressed divergent opinions on the situation. Honestly, without power supply, my business is not moving at all. This so-called restoration of power in the northeast is just rhetoric. You can bear me witness, there is no light even as I speak. The worst part is I now buy ice blocks to keep my freezer just to preserve my products and retain my customers. This is how I have been struggling to survive, despite the so-called restoration. To be honest, I don't understand the system they are using to distribute electricity. We are told we fall under Ban E, but in reality, that doesn't reflect in what we get. In my area, power only comes late at night, when most people are asleep, and it's usually gone again by early morning. This system does not work fine.
They segment their things. Those that want to have light always, constantly, they pay higher. And we are in a commercial area, and we appreciate what they do. They give us light always, and we are paying them. We buy the units since we are using prepaid.
Some residents also raised concerns over the distribution process of the restored electricity, particularly in light of the new Ban A, B, and C supply policy.
We've had issues of transformer. The transformer went bad, and so it took some time, close to a month or two, before they actually had to even remove us from that transformer, and because it's like we were too much on that transformer. So far so good. The light has not been bad.
Something needs to be done. The government need to come in. The TCN needs to checkmate what all these companies are doing, and there should be clear understanding. You understand of how they rate. Most people don't even know where they are. They will tell you are in band A, but sometimes you may not even see the light. They will tell you are in band B. You can spend 3 days without the light.
According to the transmission company, the challenge of recurring vandalism on critical grid infrastructure is worsening. These attacks affect power lines connected to substations nationwide, undermining the country's overall transmission capacity, which currently stands at a static wheeling capacity of 8,700 megawatts. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Exploring a misunderstood tradition in Bauchi's cultural heritage. More news when we return. Do stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at our top stories again. Court sentences gospel singer to death for killing Salome Adaidu. And poor rainfall threatens Maiduguri's farming season. Moving on to more stories, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja has declined a move by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to cross-examine its third witness in the ongoing alleged money laundering case against the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello. Delivering his ruling on Thursday, Justice Nwiti noted that no provision in law permits the court to allow the prosecution to re-examine its witness in the manner proposed. On the ruling against the cross-examination of the third prosecution witness by the FCC, the judge agreed with the learned counsel for the defendant that the prosecution can only cross-examine after it has declared the witness a hostile one. After a brief re-examination and the withdrawal of an earlier question posed to the witness, the FCC lawyer, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kemi Pinero, told the court that the commission had 3 other witnesses for the day. During the examination, Michelia Ariel Bata, a compliance officer with Zenith Bank, confirmed that certificates of identification were attached to the statements of account provided by the bank in the 7 sets of documents presented as required. Justice Muhammad Umar of the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed September 22 for hearing in the suit on the authentic National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. The judge fixed the date for a definite hearing of all motions against the suit filed by the embattled National Secretary, Samuel Anyangu, based on the agreement of the parties. The matter, which was coming before Justice Umar for the first time, had earlier been fixed for judgment by Justice Nyangeko before the plaintiff brought an application for amendment of his original process. Anyanwu had originally sued the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and the acting national chairman of PDP, Umar Damagun, as first and second defendants. In the ex parte application, Anyanwu, through his lawyer, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ken Njemanzi, had prayed the court for an order of interim injunction restraining INEC from accepting, acting on, or giving effect to any correspondence from the PDP not signed by him pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice for interlocutory injunction. He also sought an order of interim injunction restraining Damagum from dispatching to INEC any correspondence purportedly emanating from PDP signed by the acting chair and not countersigned by him. The Senate has confirmed President Tinubu's nominations for the 3 regional development commissions, as well as the managing director and executive secretary of the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation. They were confirmed during Thursday's plenary report.
For regional development commissions, the Senate confirmed the chairman and board members of the Southwest, South-South, and North Central Development Commissions. This approval came after the chairman of the relevant Senate committees presented their report during Thursday's plenary session.
The screening exercise, the committee hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm the nomination of the underlisted person as chairman, managing director, and members of the Southwest Development Commission. 1. Senator Olubunmi Adebunmi as chairman.
However, during the confirmation process, Tijani Lawura, a nominee for the South-South Development Commission SSDC board, was dropped due to his failure to submit the necessary documents required for screening.
Honorable Chibudum, Chairman Rivers, was cleared and recommended for Senate confirmation. Osoro Ofiong Akpabio, Managing Director, Akwa Ibom, cleared and recommended for Senate confirmation.
Additionally, Minority Leader Abba Moro raised concerns about the leadership composition of the North Central Development Commission, NCDC, pointing out that it was incomplete.
The Senate do confirm the nominations of the unlisted persons as chairman and members of the governing council of the North Central Development Commission. 1. Barrister Cosmas T. Aki, chairman.
Despite these issues, the Senate proceeded to confirm all other nominees for positions across the 3 development commissions. The confirmed appointments include Olubunmi Adetumbi as chairman and Charles Akinola as managing director of the Southwest Development Commission, SWDC, Chibudo Mumuchi as chairman, and Osto Akpabio as managing director of the SSDC, and Cosmos Akegiri as chairman alongside Senyi Yosen as managing director of the NCDC.
We shall continue as a Senate
through our committees to oversight what they are doing, to make sure they go in alignment with the aspirations of the people of this country and the intention of Mr. President to bring even development to our nation. I congratulate them on behalf of the Senate, and we wish them well in their various positions.
In a related development, the Senate confirmed the appointment of Oludare Sunday and Kabir Kataka as the new Managing Director and Executive Director of the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC. The confirmation took place during Thursday's plenary following the presentation of a report by the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, chaired by Senator Adetokunbo Abiru.
President and distinguished colleagues, the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, after robust engagement with the nominees and being satisfied with their experiences, performance and academic qualifications.
The nomination of Mr. Thompson Oludare Sunday is hereby confirmed as the Managing Director of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. The nomination of Dr. Kabir Sabo Katata is hereby confirmed as the Executive Director of the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Following Thursday's confirmation, Oludare and Kataka are expected to immediately assume their roles at the NDIC, a key institution in safeguarding Nigeria's banking system and depositors' funds.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has called for a full investigation into alleged corruption, financial misconduct and abuse of office within the police. This was one of the resolutions passed on the floor of the House on Thursday. The report.
The decision followed a motion of urgent public importance moved by Representatives Ibe Osanwa, Mark Esset and Mohammed Jafaru, the one that the NPF's integrity is being eroded by procurement irregularities and mismanagement. At the heart of the allegations is a 6 billion naira contract for uniforms, reportedly awarded in violation of procurement laws by splitting it into 66 smaller contracts, raising questions about due process.
The House is disturbed by the reported sale of critical national security assets, including Garki Police Barracks in Abuja, the Falomo Police Barracks in Lagos, and Bompai Barracks in Kano, to private individuals closely linked with Exim Realty Company Limited, without due process or required approvals from the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, Ministry of Police Affairs, or the Federal Executive Council, and in total disregard of the PPP regulation guide.
The House has mandated its Committee on Public Accounts and Public Procurement to investigate and report back in 6 weeks. Meanwhile, 2 bills scaled second reading on the floor of the House on Thursday. One seeks to establish a service commission for area councils in the Federal Capital Territory, and another to create a Federal Institute for Driving Technology in Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos.
I rise this afternoon to move that a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal Capital Territories, area councils, service commission, and for related matters, HB 1838, be read the second time. I so move.
I hereby rise to move that the bill for the establishment of the Federal Institute of Diving Technology, Ibeju-Lekki, charged with the responsibility to provide full-time courses in deep sea ocean diving study, be read the second time.
In a separate development, President Bola Tinubu has withheld assent to the NDLEA amendment bill. The president argued that allowing the NDLEA to retain a portion of seized assets would violate established financial regulations and bypass oversight by the National Assembly and Executive Council.
In addition to this, payments to the relevant organization responsible for recoveries can only be made by the president, subject to the approval of the Federal Executive Council and the National Assembly. There is no compelling reason to change the current process which promotes transparency as it involves executive and legislative oversight.
Also on Thursday, 2 lawmakers defected to the ruling APC. Representatives Chimaobi Sam Atu, representing Enugu South, Enugu North, and Joseph Nwobasi, representing Eza North, Ishielu Federal Constituency in Ebonyi State, announced their departure from the Labour Party and the All Progressives Grand Alliance APGA, citing internal party crisis and a desire to align with the Renewed Hope agenda.
Since he has violated Section 68(1)(g) of the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the issue, declare his seat vacant, and be courageous enough to do that today.
My membership of the Labour Party, after holistic consultations with my constituents and critical stakeholders, I have, therefore, moved to the All Progressive Congress effective today. This decision was necessitated by the persistent internal crisis plaguing the Labour Party, both at the national level and within the state chapter.
As debates rage and investigations loom, the House of Representatives appears determined to enforce accountability across Nigeria's security and political institutions.
Moving on, the Lagos State government on Thursday denied any involvement in the demolition of a property in the Ikeja area of the state, which the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, claimed belonged to his brother. This was disclosed in a statement by the Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Bengal Mutusho. It said that neither the Lagos State Building Control Agency nor any other arm of the Lagos State government carried out the said demolition. The statement urged the public to disregard Obi's claims as it would not be swayed by what it described as baseless allegations or attempts to discredit its efforts. The state government, however, said it had ordered an investigation into the matter. Obi had, in a post on his official X handle on Wednesday, condemned the demolition of the property, describing it as an illegal action carried out without a court order or official permit. Moving on to Bauchi Emirate, Mahaukata is a revered traditional title historically bestowed on individuals known for their boldness, honesty and courage. While the term literally means people with mental illness, in Hausa, its cultural significance in Bauchi is far more dignified. In this report, Trust TV's Yusho Adamu explores the origin of the Mahaukata title and its impact on the people of Bauchi Emirate.
Literally translated, Mahaukata means people with mental illness in Hausa. But in the Bauchi Emirate, it carries a respected cultural meaning, conferred only on individuals bold and courageous enough to speak the unvarnished truth, even to the Emir. The role of the Mahaukata is to fearlessly advise the Emir on matters affecting his subjects without fear.
To akwai sauta ce da ake kiranta mahaukata. To shi wannan sauta da ake ce masa mahaukata din, wato wanne daga cikin mutanen Bununu.
Mahaukata is a traditional title in Bauchi, and the origin of this title could be linked to late Malam Dauda, the first Mahaukatan Bauchi. Dauda and the Emir Ibrahim, who instituted the title, were close friends because they grew up together in the palace. Therefore, even after Ibrahim became Emir, Dauda used to advise him on so many issues whenever he heard. Worried by his attitude, one day Emir Ibrahim asked Dauda to pick a traditional title of his choice, and Dauda said, since people are calling him Mahaukachi, he wants a title that will bear the name Mahaukachi, and the Emir Ibrahim instituted the title of Mahaukata and conferred it on Dauda. The title of Mahaukata was instituted by the Emir of Bauchi, Malam Ibrahim Dan Yakubu. The first to hold it was his close friend, the late Malam Dauda. Though Dauda was not from a royal lineage, he grew up alongside Ibrahim under the care of Emir Yaqub. Their bond endured even after Ibrahim became the Emir. Dauda was one of the few who could boldly correct the Emir whenever he erred, a testament to this title's essence. Only Mahaukata has the power to advise the Emir on anything affecting the people. One thing with the Mahaukata is that he could advise the emir anywhere and anytime, even in public. Mahaukata is a special advisor to the emir. Since its inception, several individuals have served as Mahaukatan Bauchi. Today, Ahmed Lawal Aliyu holds the title. Despite its misleading literal meaning, he proudly bears the role and the responsibility that comes with it. My main job in the palace is to tell the emir the truth on anything that concerns his people. I always have access to the emir, and whenever there is problem, I can go directly to the emir and tell him, nobody can stop me. Even during palace session, if the emir makes mistake, I can draw his attention and he can amend it. I'm the only person in the whole palace that has the power of advising the emir, even in public. Interestingly, the neighborhood where the Mahaukata resides is popularly known as Angora Mahaukata, which has led to widespread misconceptions. Despite the community's honorable background, many outsiders wrongly associate its name with mental illness. Residents and observers have voiced concern over this misunderstanding. We are proud that our community is being called Angora Mahaukata, though we do not have any mental illness. Though outsiders are associating our community with mental illness, but that doesn't bother us. We are proud with the name of our community. The title of Mahaukata, though rooted in a misunderstood term, remains a symbol of truth, courage, and integrity in Bauchi Emirate. Yushau Adamu, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
Moving to Taraba, the State House of Assembly has dismissed rumors of an alleged plot to impeach the Deputy Governor Aminu Alkali. The House also affirmed that Alkali is steadily recovering from an undisclosed illness. Addressing journalists in Jalingo, the state capital, the chairman of the House Committee on Information, Nelson Len, said the 24-member assembly had no plans to replace Alkali with the current deputy speaker or any other individual. Len described the rumors as baseless and misleading, urging the public to disregard any claims suggesting the assembly is considering removing the deputy governor from office. He further clarified that the House has not constituted any medical panel to assess Alkali's health, insisting that there is no justification for such action at this time. Alkali, who has been absent from public functions for more than 9 months, was recently flown back to Nigeria from Egypt and is reportedly receiving medical care in a hospital in Abuja. His extended absence had fueled speculation about his condition and prompted concerns over a possible leadership vacuum. In Nigeria's federal system, the 3 tiers of government were designed to function harmoniously, each with clearly defined responsibilities. However, local governments have long struggled to exercise their constitutionally guaranteed autonomy. In this report, our correspondent takes a look at how excessive control by state governments, inadequate funding, and political interference have significantly hampered their ability to deliver effective grassroots governance. The report.
A landmark Supreme Court judgment has changed the narrative of local government administration in Nigeria. The court affirmed the financial autonomy of local governments, ruling that state governments can no longer withhold or tamper with funds allocated to local councils. Moving forward, these funds are to be disbursed directly from the federation account to local governments, paving the way for improved service delivery and grassroots development. Despite this legal victory, significant challenges remain. The state government continue to manipulate local government elections, undermining the principle of true autonomy. Corruption, inefficiency, and poor governance still plague many local councils. According to legal associate barrister Mohammed Usman, the judgment was based on Section 162, Subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, which recognizes local governments as an independent tier of the government entitled to manage their resources. While enforcement remains a hurdle, the decision is widely seen as a key step towards strengthening democracy and accountability at the grassroots level.
There are 2 tiers of government in Nigeria: the federation, the state government, and also the local government level. So therefore, the court said then this 774 local government as a third tier of government in Nigeria are entitled by law and by rights to receive their revenue allocation directly from the Federation account. And the court therefore gave an order that henceforth the resources that are entitled by the local government, the 774 local governments in Nigeria, shall be sent to them directly by the Accountant General of the Federation.
A former director of local government, Muhammad Bala Adamu Kalgo, shared a more cautious outlook. He noted that while financial autonomy holds great promise, particularly for improving healthcare, education and road infrastructure and other basic services, it must be effectively managed. He warned that even if autonomy becomes fully operational, the absence of qualified personnel and mismanagement could undermine its impact.
Local government is the closest form of government to the people. Somebody living in, say, Achagungu, or somebody somewhere in Auji, it will be easy for him to go to the local government or Argungu local government to lay his complaint for others in that unit, then to come to the state.
Comrade Mansour Issa, a civil society advocate, highlighted the now criticized joint account system as a major obstacle to reform, where state governments often withhold or manage funds intended for local use.
There is a court verdict that spell out the local government should be having its own autonomy. But unfortunately, the governors are not in line with that, and the government did not respect that verdict. And we at our angle of civil service organization, we are pushing, and we are still pushing, and with no relent in pushing it.
Advocacy groups are now pushing for deeper reforms, ones that will empower local councils to independently plan budgets, allocate resources, and pay staff without state interference. Although there has been some progress, especially regarding salary disbursement, many believe that true autonomy will only be achieved when local governments have full control of their finances and operations, and when public officials are held accountable by the communities they serve.
Moving on to business, United States companies have pledged investment in Africa ranging from power lines to digital infrastructure at a business summit that underscored Washington's push for growth through trade, not aid, U.S. authorities said on Thursday. The deals were agreed at the U.S.-Africa Business Summit of African leaders and representatives of the U.S. government and private sector that wrapped up in Luanda on Wednesday, the U.S. Embassy in Angola said in a statement. Angola is a key U.S. partner in one of its most ambitious projects on the continent, focused on a railway line transporting critical minerals from the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Zambia to Angola's Atlantic Ocean port of Lobito, from where they can be exported. It is seen as a U.S. counterpoint to China's expanding economic influence in Africa. The Lobito corridor, also funded by the European Union and African multilateral institutions, aims to set up logistics and agricultural production zones along the railway line through private investment. One of the deals from the meeting was for a U.S. consortium to work with an Angolan group to construct and operate 22 grain silo terminals along the Lobito corridor, the statement said. Most stocks fell on Thursday and oil rose as traders kept a nervous eye on the Iran-Israel ceasefire, while the dollar dropped after Donald Trump said he had a handful of candidates to succeed Federal Reserve boss Jerome Powell, fueling rate cut bets. Uncertainty over the U.S. president's trade war was also keeping sentiment subdued, with most countries still not reaching deals with Washington to avert the reimposition of steep tariffs ahead of a July 9th deadline. With a shaky peace between Iran and Israel holding for now, Trump said he would hold nuclear talks with Tehran next week, even after insisting that U.S. strikes had set its atomic program back decades. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian had said on Tuesday that his country was willing to return to negotiations, but that it would continue to assert its legitimate rights to the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Crude prices, which tanked on Monday and Tuesday after the ceasefire was announced, egged up for a second day, though gains were capped by the possibility that OPEC and other key producers would lift output. Equity markets were mostly down, with Hong Kong, Shanghai, Sydney, Singapore, Seoul, Jakarta and Wellington in the red, but Tokyo and Taipei in positive territory. Now away from Nigeria, 29 students taking their high school exams in the Central African Republic have reportedly died in a stampede sparked by an exploding power transformer. The Health Ministry said on Thursday that just over 5,300 students were sitting for the second day of the baccalaureate exams at the time of the explosion early Wednesday afternoon. In Bangui, the capital of the deeply poor nation, in the ensuing panic, supervisors and students tried to flee, some jumping from the first floor of the school. The injured were transported by ambulance on the back of pickup trucks or by motorbike taxi. Dera, who is attending the summit of the Gavi Vaccine Alliance in Brussels, also announced 3 days of national mourning. According to a document circulating on social media and authenticated by the Health Ministry, 29 deaths were registered by hospitals in the city. It's now time for sports news update with Joseph Peter.
The Nigerian Rugby Football Federation NRFF President Ademola Aare has vowed to strengthen the domestic rugby scene following the Stallions' 7th place finish at the just concluded Africa Men's Rugby Sevens Championship in Cape Town, South Africa. Despite competing against the continent's top rugby nation, including South Africa, Kenya, Uganda and Zimbabwe, Nigeria struggled to impose itself consistently throughout the tournament. Aare described the team's performance as encouraging but acknowledged the urgent need to reinforce grassroots development and expand the player base from local leagues. He emphasized that while the team's progress is commendable, relying heavily on players based abroad will not bring sustainable success. The NRFF plans to relaunch the National Rugby later this year and introduce regional tournaments to discover and nurture homegrown talent. Aare called on corporate sponsors, government bodies and stakeholders to back the federation's renewed domestic agenda, saying that rugby has the potential to become one of Nigeria's most competitive sports internationally. The NRFF is expected to release a revised strategic roadmap by the end of July 2025 to guide its long-term development and pathway to Olympic qualification. In basketball, the Nigerian Basketball Federation (NBBF) has unveiled a strong 20-player provisional squad for the Tigers ahead of their title defense at the 2025 FIBA Women's Afro Basketball scheduled to hold in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Reigning African champions, the Tigers, who are eyeing a historic 5th consecutive continental title, would once again rely on a blend of experience and emerging talents to extend their dominance in women's basketball across Africa. Leading the list of invited guards are the experienced duo of Precious Amukamara and Ezinne Kalu, both key contributors to Nigeria's past Afro basketball triumph. They are joined by Ifunanya Okoro, providing depth and stability in the black court. The swing position features a dynamic mix of skill and youth, with the likes of Elizabeth Balogun, Grace Efosa and Sholakpe Amuson bringing versatility. Others include Abiodun Yusuf and Adenike Olayemi, who would be eager to make their mark. For front-court dominance, seasoned forward center Victoria Makule returns, joined by Christabel Ezuma and Izoje Uche, while the center rotation includes Lauren Ebo, Ugone Onya, Vera Ojenua, and Blessing Ejiofor. Nigeria head to Abidjan not only as defending champion but also as the most successful African women basketball team in recent times, having won the last 4 editions in 2017, 2019, 2021, and 2023. The final 12-woman roster will be announced after the training camp. That's Sport News. I'm Joseph Peter.
And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Make sure you follow us across all media platforms and watch our YouTube live stream for more news. I'm Hawa Adamikiawa. Thank you for watching.